YouTube, Brian Phillips here, coming to you with a quick update on the Stihl MS250. It's in my case. Got a sharpening holder here, a multi-tool holder, and this is the sharpener. I got the Stihl brand for the tooth sharpener, and it's the 0.325 inch variety. And this is a gauge that helps you to keep it high, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to use that. And then there is the Oregon brand. This is going to be like a rake adjustment, even though they're not rakes, they're just depth gauges, which is this little thing on the tooth. You can get this thing for super cheap. I guess we'll try to link to it. I know they sell this stuff at Amazon, but one way or another, you can buy, I think you can buy everything but the chainsaw itself. This case has actually turned out to be really good. I mean, look, I'm on a kitchenette in the basement, and I'm able to put a chainsaw on it that's very dirty. All my safety gear I've got in the bags has worked out really nicely. You can kind of let them be dirty. You just set them to the side. Got the hearing protection safety stuff. Just kind of lay that to the side, and you see it's like super dirty in this case because obviously all this stuff gets really dirty because when you're cutting down trees and stuff, you're not clean. But that works really nice, and it's worked really nice so far. So just got some cotton gloves here, protect my fingertips. Got some safety glasses, run-of-the-mill safety glasses. Basically, I'm going to show you what I do to sharpen this blade. And you're probably thinking to yourself, good Lord, Brian, how are you even needing to sharpen this blade yet? Well, let's just put it this way. When you're new at something, you make more mistakes. I haven't chopped my leg off, but I've chopped a lot of roots. Okay, so the way this thing works is basically the file goes in like this, and it came this way, and I'm trying to remember exactly how I did. I did it by hand before, and I just take and lay down this piece of cardboard on top of a countertop that's up at a nice comfortable height. And obviously, per the instructions, you don't want to do it while it's running. Like, seriously, if you knew that, then if you didn't know that, you're not going to survive this series. So obviously it's off. You want to make sure it's locked so the chain doesn't move. If it's unlocked, the chain will move, okay, which is not a problem if it's off. You just need it to hold still so that you can get in here and sharpen these teeth. And this is the part that you're sharpening here, folks. Just right here, and you're sharpening the top part of the tooth. Okay, so we may not even need to sharpen it. We might just need to do a little rake adjustment. So I'm just going to break this out real quick. Here's the item number. And if I can't find this exact one online, then I'll find one that's really similar. This gauge is designed for whatever this one's supposed to have. This is an 18-inch blade. In fact, here's the information. I don't know enough about chainsaws to tell you the difference, but I can tell you that this rake adjustment is supposed to help. It seems like when I'm cutting, I have to put a lot of pressure down to try to get it to cut, and it just cuts kind of slow. Which I don't think it's a symptom of a not sharp blade. I think it's a symptom of my depth gauge getting in the way. So what you're supposed to do is you rest this across the teeth, okay? And then that shows just a little teeny bit of that tooth is exposed. And so if you just follow the instructions, you take it down here, and then you round the edge so it doesn't catch, because you don't want that to become another cutting surface. It's not going to hold up. So basically, most people say to mark the teeth so that you know, there's an airplane, so that you know where you started, so that you can get back to that same point, because obviously you want all these to be the same. It's really not a hard process. It's just time consuming. So I'm going to do that. I'll mark it here. Okay, so I've got my black mark on this one right there. And it's really as simple as that. So what I was doing to sharpen my teeth, I'll just show you real quick. I'm not going to do the whole thing because I'm not very good at it. I was going in here and just working the tooth, and I'm pulling up. So it's actually quite difficult to do that. And so they include this tool. Now this one is designed specifically for this style of a chainsaw. And this is not like a professional grade, and I am certainly no expert. Geez, that thing has to bend quite a bit to get in there, doesn't it? So I'll be really short with this part of it because I don't think I'm going to sharpen all the teeth. That took me about a half an hour the first time I did it. And it's actually harder than I figured it was going to be. That was a little disappointing. Let me try doing it this way. I think I was doing it the wrong way. Sorry, folks. There we go. See, and that just holds it right in there. Okay, they have the gauges for 30 degrees on both sides. And in my case, I think that's going to be real similar to what we have there. So all you do is you put this in here. You can kind of see how you can line that up to sight down. Then I'll give you 30 degrees, okay? And that sharpens the tooth there, okay? And then of course on this one you would go the other way. And some people say to count your strokes, and I think that's insane, because if you do this like about once, you're going to find out really quick that you are not going to be able to count your strokes and get an even amount of cut. Some of these teeth get screwed up more than others. And also, if you don't have this guide, there's 2 cutting guides. You can just look at the tooth. It's very simple to see. Right there. There's a tooth. It's got a mark on it. Okay, so that tells you the angle you're supposed to be sharpening at. Okay? This guide does make it quite a bit easier, though. I'll be totally honest. I did it the other way before. And I'm just using my thumb to support the chain so it doesn't move. And you can see why having a pair of gloves on makes a big difference, because you are basically grabbing on top of these sharpened teeth. And then when you get to a point where you got enough done that you want to move forward, you go ahead and do this, okay? So we'll actually just work through this real quick. We'll just hit all of them. And it seems like some people like to kind of just do all of one direction and then all of the other direction before they get back to it. Boy, that is a lot easier with that tool on there. See that tooth? That one seems like it got knocked off angle pretty bad. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that when you're running a chainsaw, you're going to run into some nasty stuff. Especially when you're running cutting deadwood like I am. So I'm just kind of lifting as I go. And you can definitely tell they're sharper. I can feel it with my gloves because it keeps catching them. Okay? So like, look at this. Look at this crap. I'm cutting some nasty stuff. Okay? And I'm sure some of you aficionados out there that do this professionally or have a better rig, you got even better tricks up your sleeve. But I'll tell you what, for me this is good enough. It's going to get the job done. That tooth looks really bad. This is just showing you if the tool thing works, and so far I'm really happy with the way it works. I did sharpen it, like I said, one other time. So obviously you have to start by sharpening the teeth before you can get in and do your rake adjustment or your depth gauge adjustment. And this just makes it easier because you're not taking off material that you don't need to take off. It is a little bit tricky to get it in there though. Ooh, see, this one's like sticky because it doesn't want to get into that angle. See, some of them fight you. Okay. Then we'll release this and pull it forward. And I'm just looking, don't see the one yet, so I'm probably getting close. Guys, I'm an amateur at this. I know a little bit about sharpening tools. I know a little bit about maintenance of tools. I'm certainly not a chainsaw expert. So you watch this video, you can just say, man, that guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. And you would be correct. But for the guy that doesn't know what he's doing, you can gauge whether or not you want to buy this thing. This is a fairly inexpensive tool. And some people would say, just take it down to Ace Hardware and have them sharpen it for 10 bucks. Sure, you can do that if you've got like lots of money sitting around. Plus, I like to be able to be self-sufficient if possible and where possible. Okay, so it looks like there's a mark. Oh shoot, that's not a mark, that's just some grease. So I'm not there. This tool does really make it easier to kind of control the depth. Except for there. There it goes. I can definitely say one thing I learned on my first go-round with this. Just doing it manually without this guide, it's a lot harder, for one thing. And for two, you got to get up high. I'm 6 foot tall. I'm not a especially tall or short guy. But if you're low, you're going to have a heck of a time doing this. It's just kill your back. Okay. Okay. Feels like I'm getting into where I've already sharpened, maybe. Okay, so let's just look and see if we can find my mark, which so far, nope. There it is. There's the mark, so we're almost there. Lock it back up. So guys, if you have this Stihl MS250, I had a heck of a time because I flooded it on my first go around with it, and I didn't realize that the all the way bottom setting also primed it when you were pulling the starter. Big mistake, stupid mistake, totally my fault. This thing starts awesome, like 4 or 5 pulls max, and that includes the priming. And this thing just, I mean, you can start it one-handed if you wanted. That's a joke, guys. You need 2 hands. You got to be holding it up. But it is really easy starting. Okay, so we got one. Okay, so we got another 3 to go. And so now, with the rake adjustment, then we should, best of my estimation, should make up for some of my malfeasance with this. Okay, one more tooth. I don't know if I already got this tooth or not. But we'll just go ahead and use it again. Okay, so now those things should be nice and sharp. One thing I don't understand, guys. So this is a Stihl branded tool. And they give you a hole to put this in, right? Well, how do you do that when you've got this tool on there? I assume this would be like for touching up out in the field. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. But now that those teeth are nice and sharp, I'm going to go ahead and look at this rake adjustment. So we'll just run this out to where it's super easy to work with. We'll just lay this down, bridging 2 teeth. And we'll take the file and we'll just... Okay, so just take it down just a little bit. So we took down the rake, just a hair, and then also I can take and knock off that top roll. There's just a little teeny imperfection on there. Okay, so that one's done. So now we can move it forward. And we're just going to do this all the way through. Looks like that one doesn't need anything. So we'll just move on to the next one. Okay, so just kind of smoothing it to get that edge over. Releasing as I pull. Okay, just barely taking it down at all. I want to see if there's a difference here. Just barely taking any off. And guys, I have a really hard time seeing this as an exact science. It's a chainsaw. There's going to be a certain amount of adjustment, certain amount of wear and tear that's not exactly the same on each tooth. I guess I just have a really hard time believing that it's going to pull one way or another if you don't get this perfect. But I guess we'll find out, huh? This is super easy, though. I figure this would be way more pain in the butt than it's proving to be. It does help to kind of do it out here. And of course, you could put this in a clamp or whatever. I just don't want to waste the time to do it. Some people really swear by the clamps. I think the clamp is probably going to take about as long as it does to do this. Unless you're out in the woods and you've got one of those clamps that you can hammer into a stump. That would be kind of nice. But of course, I'm doing it in my kitchenette in the basement. So, another tip is don't let your wife know that you're doing this in the kitchen, because you may not have a kitchen to come home to. Mostly. You want to be careful about that, guys. You know what? I'm just learning something. I got to bring this back a little bit, because if you do it out here, it starts to go up a little bit. So I'm just going to try the last two. Yeah, I didn't really get any more on that one, so I think we're okay. You just got to make sure you're under that tooth. Yep, we're good. Not much on that one either. Just squeezing this a little bit. And I debated for a long time on what type of chainsaw I was going to, if I was going to go for the El Cheapo or if I was going to get a nice one. And I mean, this was not a super expensive chainsaw, but it was, I mean, it was a lot of money for us. But, you know, in the order of chainsaws, it's still pretty inexpensive. But if you're talking about a $400 or $500 total investment by the time you buy safety gear and the case and the, you know, little tools and things like this, I mean, I don't know how you're going to do it with spending less. If you go buy a cheapo, you'll just be replacing it a lot quicker. And this is a consumable tool. Make no mistake about it. These things, the way that they run and what you do with them, you're always wearing something out on them. So it is a consumable tool, in my opinion. Sure, you can replace the parts, but this thing is always eating itself up. So, somebody who wants to borrow my chainsaw, get your own chainsaw. And we're getting close. Boy, this really does make it pretty idiot-proof. The only thing I could see is you will wear this down over time. So you have to replace this tool. Gosh, I think I might have spent like $6 or $7 on this thing. And I'm hoping to find one for a good price and give you guys a link. Help support the channel that way if you decide to buy it from OK. Okay, so we got to go to there. Boy, we made pretty good time. I think it's going to be about a 23 or 24 minute video by the time we're said and done. That's better than I expected, totally. And I mean, we've got each of the rakes adjusted, and we filed the teeth, or excuse me, sharpened the teeth. Now, whether or not we did a good job, that is yet to be determined. But in terms of, I mean, is it something you can take on? I don't know. Probably. If you're bold enough to take a chainsaw out and cut a tree down, you should be willing to do this. Guys, that was very surprisingly easy. 20.5 minutes to do both of those. I mean, really, that's amazing. And for now, I think you're just going to have to take my word for it, that it's going to work well. And then I have to figure out how I'm going to store this second piece, because I don't think there's really anywhere on this tool holder to put it. So I think what I'll do is I'll just pop this off, and then I'll just keep this where it is. So I have to touch up a tooth, and then this thing I will work it in here somewhere. Same thing with the screwdriver, which you do occasionally need to do a tension adjustment. You can use the multi-tool, has a little fatter Phillips, or excuse me, a flat bladed screwdriver here, so you can get your tension. But once you pull that cover off, it is a little bit tricky sometimes. So you gotta have that tool with you, and yes, they do pop out of this holder a little bit. So other than that, I would say extremely happy with this thing. I would highly recommend it, and that's coming from little experience. But I'll tell you what, I don't usually get along well with gas powered equipment, and this thing runs great, and I'm not nice to it. So come back for more, guys. You know where to find it for your radio controlled airplane stuff. Not chainsaws, but there'll probably be a few more chainsaw style things in my future. If you've been following our build process on the house, we have quite a bit of cool projects coming, and we really hope to keep your audience